Hi everybody, welcome back to the lab. This morning we're going to replace the battery in a MacBook Air. This covers the A1369 and A1466, basically Airs from 2010 to 2017. Maybe you have a MacBook Air that can only hold its charge for an hour or two. Maybe the repairer told you it's too old to fix, or the battery cannot be replaced. Well, that's absolute rubbish. We can replace the battery and we can go through it step by step. So it's done properly, not half-assed. This video is for MacBooks that don't hold their charge. If you have a MacBook that has trouble starting or will not start, we have a separate video that shows isolation of the battery and diagnosis, and the link to that is in the description down below. Otherwise, let's get started. Before we start, we're going to need to check battery status and cycle count. So let's do that now. All we have to do is make sure your MacBook is unplugged from power and start it up. Don't log in. We need to go to the top right corner. We need to check our battery status so we can see it's at 100% here. And most importantly, we have to check if there's a cross through the battery. If there's a cross through the battery, you have major communications issues with your battery itself, and that's most likely a fault on the logic board. So we would have to go to a board repairer for that. What we need to do is just quickly plug it in and make sure the status changes to charge. And we can see that the status has changed to charge there because of a little lightning bolt inside the battery. So what we have to do next is log on to the machine, and we're going to check our battery cycle count. So let's do that now. To get our battery cycle count, we have to click on the Apple symbol, click About This Mac. Then we click on System Report. Then we click Power. And if you have a look at the cycle count, we have it at around 579. So generally when your cycle count gets to above around 600 or 700 cycles, it's time to start looking for a new battery, especially if your battery is between 4 and 5 years old. It's not at its best. And, even if you're having troubles with your MacBook now, if you're only getting an hour or two worth of charge out of it, it's probably time to replace the battery. So let's move on to changing the battery. To get started, you're going to need 3 things. First item is a P5 Pentalobe screwdriver, and this will be used to crack the chassis. The next item is a T5 Torx screwdriver, and this will be used to take the screws out of the battery. And the last item is the battery itself. And if you're clever enough and get this battery off eBay, you will get the P5 and the T5 screwdrivers already included, so you don't have to order the tools separately. First step is we have to flip our MacBook over so we can actually see the bottom, and we have to remove 10 screws with our P5 Pentalobe screwdriver. 8 of those screws being short, which are these ones here, and the other 2 screws being long. So let's start to take these screws out right now. With all screws being out, let's take off the bottom plate. The next step is to disconnect this battery connector here. And it's nice and simple. All we have to do is grab hold of this tab here and pull straight back. Then we remove the 5 screws that retain the battery itself. And we'll need the Torx T5 screwdriver for this process. Take note that this one, and this one are long screws, and the other two, here and here, are short screws. So let's start taking the screws out. The next step is to remove the battery. So all we have to do is grab the battery by its tab nice and carefully, pull upwards and take the battery out. We now put in the new battery. Now I got this off eBay here, so obviously it's a non-genuine battery, but the rule of thumb is if you pay that $80 Australian or $55 United States dollars, you'll get yourself a fairly good quality battery. Always look at the reputation of the eBay seller and have a look at the feedback. One good sign on this battery is we have a little barcode here and we have a little quality control sticker. So what we'll do is we'll pop this battery in and we'll see how we go. We'll plug our connector back in, push it home. We'll put our screws back in, starting with the long screws first. And then we put in our short screws. And this is the best part. We rip off the protective plastic film. We put on the bottom plate and we're going to put 4 screws in, 1 in each corner. Just the short screws. And this enables us to put it back together temporarily just to make sure the battery is working. We then flip our MacBook over, open it up, plug it in, make sure our light comes up. It may start up, so we want to shut it down. Then we let it charge for a good 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, we unplug the charge cable and then we start the MacBook up. Before logging on, we need to quickly check 2 things. Firstly, check to see that you have charge in your battery and that your battery isn't crossed out. Our charge cable is in and you can see our little charge symbol has come up. So that tells us our battery is charging correctly. So what we do next is log on to your MacBook and we will check the charge cycle count. And as before, if you click the Apple symbol here and then select About This Mac and then click System Report, if we click Power and then have a look at the cycle count, you can see it's 2, and that tells us that this battery is brand new. If you're happy with the new battery in your MacBook, it's time to put in the rest of the screws. These ones being short and the last 2 being long. at the end of the day. It's not as hard as the repairers make it out to be. And hopefully this has fixed your problem. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to share and subscribe. And we'll see you next time in the lab.